Hi, it's Friday, September 20th. Let's talk PlayStation. So before we get into our cover story and, the thumbnail and all that, let's talk about some things that happened this week. TGS, obviously. TGS 2013. Sony had their actual TGS 2013 keynote. They did the pre-TGS keynote where they showed off, PS Vita TV and the new PS Vita Slim 2000, whatever you want to call it. And they had their new keynote. The real 2013 TGS Sony press conference, but not that big of a show. Surprisingly, their pre-TGS show was a heck of a lot bigger because they obviously had like hardware announcements. They had the PS Vita TV, PS Vita 2000. But here, it was based around the PS4 and connectivity with the PS4. And, Sony was also talking a little bit about like, where the industry's going, where they want to go. They're, basically they talked for 30 minutes about stuff. Andrew House took the stage. He was speaking Japanese. It was a full Japanese press conference, as it should be, because it's TGS. And really a lot of talking about a lot of stuff we already know, kind of Sony's vision, where they're going, where they want, where they think gaming is today, and how they think it's not just such a niche market anymore because, it is a big market and makes a lot of money still. But, they did actually demonstrate some things that were obviously very interesting. One thing being PS4 remote play with PS Vita TV specifically. They actually demoed this live on stage. And pretty interesting. I mean, he was playing PS4. Shuhei Yoshida had knack going. Looked like a lot of fun, obviously. And without much hesitation, he moved over to PS Vita TV, picked up a DualShock 3, used the, PS Vita UI to just go over to remote play, connect, and boom, he was right there playing knack on what would be a second monitor, even though it's just a one monitor on the stage. But you get the idea, right? Now it seemed pretty fast, seemed good. Shuhei even noted during the conference that if you're in a home network, this should work very good. Not much latency, but you do have to consider over the internet and bandwidth speeds, possibly hinting at obviously, it could possibly be supported for longer distances, but, there might be a latency issue, which is always a huge problem with remote play, at least for me and for a lot of other people. But it was cool that they showed that up, puts PS Vita in a really good perspective of, hey, this could be a really cool $100 box that offers a lot of things to me, not just PS Vita games, PS1 games, PS3 games with possible Gaikai streaming and all that, but, this is a box that could stream PS4 games to another television. That's really cool. Now, what Shuhei also moved on to and talked about is the PlayStation app that's coming to iOS devices and Android devices, and this is kind of like Smart Glass with what Microsoft's doing with Xbox. This is going to be an app that connects to your PlayStation 4, and you can see your trophies. You can go to the What's New section, which is recent activity, which is something on Vita currently has. See who's earning trophies, who's playing what, comments, likes, all that social networking stuff, which is kind of cool to integrate that into the system because obviously that's Sony's push right now. And there were a lot of other interesting things at TGS. I mean, the keynote really didn't have a whole lot for us to look at, really. We saw a lot of Deep Down. There was a 14-minute demo of Deep Down. You can look up some gameplay on that. 60 frames per second. It's looking really good. Metal Gear Solid 5's getting a lot of footage out there for everyone to go see. It's not really something I can just cover footage being out, but a lot of really cool stuff. Now, one interesting thing announced was Monster Hunter Frontier G was announced for PlayStation Vita. This is a Monster Hunter game finally on PlayStation Vita. Now, instantly a lot of people thought, boom, this is awesome. Vita's going to get 1 million sales in Japan because everyone knows Monster Hunter does really well in Japan. Whatever platform Monster Hunter's on, it's going to sell really well. It made PSP outsell DS for like over 6 months at one point, which is definitely a feat for the PSP over the DS, but so now Monster Hunter Frontier G is on the PlayStation Vita, and this is not too big of an announcement considering that Monster Hunter Frontier G is actually a port from PC and from Xbox. It's an old game, and not a lot of people actually liked it, and I mean, it's a start, right? We've got Monster Hunter on Vita, but I don't think it's going to be that big push that everyone's looking for. Probably one of the really cool things that came out of TGS 2013 is a Gravity Rush sequel has been confirmed, basically. There was a little TGS sizzle reel. Sony loves doing those sizzle reels, and hey, Gravity Rush sequel is pretty much confirmed. Like, it's coming from Japan Studio, and that's good. I know a lot of people like Gravity Rush. I myself have actually not gotten to it. Big PlayStation advocate gamer and all that, but that's like the one Vita game I haven't owned that's like a Vita game you should play. But it's really cool that people are now going to get a sequel to that. I think it's really important to note, TGS really had a lot of Vita support. We got new Vita models, PS Vita TV, obviously, it was out of nowhere. Game announcements, a lot of good Vita support. I will definitely say that this is something we were looking for from Sony, and we're starting to see more of that. We're getting new hardware, we're getting a price cut. We're getting price cuts on memory cards. We've got like Borderlands 2 coming. You know, we're seeing support for Vita, and that's something that we obviously want to see. Now, last week we talked about HDCP protection on the PlayStation 4 and how it's not going to allow external capture cards to capture the PlayStation 4. Well, this past week has been filled with rumors and then up to actual confirmation that Sony's working on a patch. Basically, at one point in the week, it was rumored that Sony is now scrambling to work a patch for the system, and then it was straight up confirmed during TGS, yes, we will patch. We will allow you to use, you know, external capture cards on the PlayStation 4. Shuhei Yoshida is confirming this is not going to be available at launch. This will be a patch down the road for the PS4, but basically HDCP protection will be removed from the PlayStation 4. One key thing you really got to look at over this past week over YouTube and HDCP and PS4 external game capture is, wow, I mean, this is exactly what we need, and this is what Sony needs to do. They listen to fast. It's very obvious that this multi-million-dollar company making a games machine that's going to live for the next 5 to 8 years and be in millions of consumers' homes put HDCP in the PlayStation 4. This concern got raised, and within a week's time, they are now confirming that they'll get rid of it. This is exactly what we need, and that's listening to consumers. You know, that is awesome, by the way. I mean, I'm someone that would have directly affected. I want to use external game capture on PS4 because it offers a lot more freedom than what Sony's possibly going to offer themselves with the share button. And it's really awesome that they just lynched that in a second and put to rest, and, you know, is... You know, they're putting people at ease, and now I'm at ease. But you know how I always say, it's an uphill battle for Sony. They got to keep doing, they got to keep improving. And as an uphill battle for Sony, as sort of a segue into the next news story, Sony wants to sell 5 million PS4s by fiscal year 2013. This would mean that Sony wants 5 million PS4s sold by March 2014. Pretty big number, but you know, obviously Sony's confirmed straight up they have 1 million pre-orders already locked in. Those are, I mean, kind of sold systems, assuming that everybody goes to pick those systems up. Some rumors, some people are suggesting that Sony is definitely closing in on 2 million pre-orders, but of course they're holding back some of that stock so people can walk into stores and still purchase systems throughout the holiday season. And obviously, another email ruining Let's Talk PlayStation, and my PS3 is going to sleep. As I was saying, 5 million units, it's a lot, right? But can Sony do it? I mean, one thing I at least look at it from this way is if anybody's going to do it, it would be Sony. I highly doubt Microsoft's going to be able to move that many units by March. So if anybody's going to do it, it would be Sony. Big number, but I think they can certainly get close to that. So let's real quick touch on PS Vita 2000. Sony actually explained why they swapped the LCD screen in as opposed to the OLED. And basically they said, they tried to defend themselves saying, you know, we wouldn't put it in there if we didn't think it looked good. And, you know, if that's fine. LCD is, you know, it still looks good. You know, it's just not OLED. But, you know, they're trying to defend themselves, and they basically confirm that the new PS Vita is going to live alongside the old PS Vita OLED one, so they're trying to make the products coexist, but they also noted that if this new Vita perhaps has much more market demand than perhaps the PS Vita 1000, then they would, you know, that means kill this one. Sony also touched on Gaikai streaming. They told us a little bit more about the service, and by a little bit more I mean basically the same thing. 2014, we're going to have PS3 games playable on PS4 and Vita, and they keep saying, you know, a selection of titles which they hope to expand upon later. It's just sort of interesting what I think, how they're going to go about doing this. Obviously, this is going to cost a fee. Possibly even on top of PlayStation Plus, just because this is kind of like a Netflix sort of thing, you know? You pay up into Gaikai, then you're in Gaikai, then you have this selection of games. Or perhaps you can do it per game or something, you know? It's like, who knows what they're going to do with their service and how they're going to roll it out and how they're going to charge for it, because this is obviously not going to be free to people. But, I don't know. What do you think? Let's talk about Uncharted 4. I love the Uncharted theme, by the way. Uncharted 4 was listed on the German Gamestop website. So German Gamestop has a listing, Uncharted for PS4. Pictures right there, obviously. Now, what does this mean? Does this confirm Uncharted for PS4? Obviously not, because you know, hasn't come from the beast mouth themselves, Sony and Naughty Dog. So the game's obviously not confirmed. But what does this mean? Is this a mistake? Is it, you know, is there truth to this? One thing you always got to know about this: GameStop's a major retailer. They would know about these things, but you got to keep in mind mistakes like this have been made in the past. But they've also been true. In fact, they've really been true a lot lately. Amazon does this all the time and leaks games. GameStop's obviously leaked games plenty of times before. This is obviously very good indication that, you know, obviously Naughty Dog's working on Uncharted 4. And there's even more evidence. This past week, Christoph Balestra, co-president of Naughty Dog, tweeted that Naughty Dog got more PS4 dev kits. He actually even tweeted a picture. As you can see from that picture, it's a big old box of crates, but in those boxes are some PS4 dev kits. They got over 100 of them. Now, what does that mean? These are not new PS4 dev kits. He said these are more PS4 dev kits. So that means Naughty Dog's really rocking them PS4s. What are they doing with those bad boys? They're making video games for them, let me tell you. So, you know, is it Uncharted 4? I mean, I've been saying this for the longest time, even back a long time ago on my possible Jack 4, blah, 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 Let's Talk PlayStation, which was a few months ago. I think Naughty Dog's working on Uncharted 4. That's pretty much, there's very strong evidence to that. You know, they'll probably do Jack 4 far away from now or pass it off to a reputable developer. I hope, you know, Jack fans, you know, we want, like, someone good to take care of that franchise for us, not like the Lost Frontier. But, you know, it's also a very high interest to know that Nolan North, the voice actor of Nathan Drake in pretty much every other video game ever, next to Troy Baker, has, you know, seen Naughty Dog's PS4 game. He's seen gameplay, and of course he says it's fantastic, it's amazing, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, he's not going to say it's Uncharted 4. He said no. He says he doesn't know anything, like, but, you know, the guy would obviously have to deny those things, so you can't take his word for it at all, but I am obviously very much so putting my money on Uncharted 4. They would have had years to work for it. You know, the one team that finished The Last of Us, you know, those guys could be getting their PS4 dev kits going, and the other team that had the existing PS4 dev kits that finished up, you know, they could be starting that new project. It all falls into place, right? Like all the puddles and raindrops and all that, and things that go together, like bowling balls and bricks. These things are going together because bowling balls and bricks are basically the same thing. That's obviously how I see the listing for Uncharted on PS4 on GameStop. You know, when would we see the announcement? You know, possibly the VGAs. Probably maybe they need more time, a little bit down the road. But I still think they're doing Uncharted. There's lots of evidence to it, at least to me. But of course, what do you think? What are you inclined to believe that Naughty Dog's doing? They got two teams. You know, one of them's already well into a project. One of them's gonna start one soon. You know, how do you think? And then after you tell me how you think, tell me what you're thinking about. I'm super loopy. I've been playing GTA 5 for like a billion hours, not getting any sleep. Those are just some of the news stories I want to talk about with you guys this week. If you haven't seen it yet, check out my Killzone Mercenary review, my Puppeteer review, you know, PlayStation exclusives just came out like a week ago. Monday, we're starting the Crash Bandicoot Let's Play, Crash Bandicoot 1 for the PlayStation 1. If you want to watch that, check it out. You guys voted, and pretty much the majority of you said Crash Bandicoot, so I'll do that one. And yeah, keep loving video games and keep playing video games and play more of them. You really should. You need more video games in your diet. You got too much broccoli. Broccoli sucks anyway. That concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Ryan Pataki. Thank you so much for talking with me, and I'll see you next Friday.